Live-action remakes of Disney's animated films aren't exactly a new phenomenon. They were doing this back in the mid-1990s, but somewhere around 2016, when they said we're going to do one film a year, sometimes multiple films a year, that was when I started hearing a lot of grousing about this. I should make it clear, the last of these remakes I saw was 102 Dalmatians, and that was when it hit home video. I cannot speak to the quality of this recent-ish onslaught of live-action remakes. Maybe they're good, maybe they're pointless, as if you want to watch Aladdin, you can just watch Aladdin, especially now that almost everything Disney has ever made is on a streaming service that's just a remote control away.
Put the Scarecrow of Romney Marsh on Disney Plus, you cowards.
I'm not against remakes. Sometimes it works fine. I highly doubt you'll find anyone who likes The Thing from Another World better than John Carpenter's The Thing. The Wizard of Oz, the one everyone thinks of when you say Wizard of Oz, it's a remake. I'm not against the idea of dusting off an old classic. Maybe the movie should be more than a few years old before you threaten to do a live-action version, but that's just me. But creatively, it seems so weird to take the story as it was done by Disney the last time and do it again pretty much exactly the same. Again, I haven't seen these movies, I'm just going by the scuttlebutt. I haven't heard anyone say, you know, this live-action Cinderella, it is interesting how they zigged instead of zagging. The only one I can think of that kind of does this is the Maleficent movies. Again, haven't seen them. I haven't heard anything good about them. But the idea of, instead of focusing on Sleeping Beauty, let's look at things from the Demon Lady's perspective, I'm fine with that, even if they didn't stick the landing. But I got to thinking about the avenue they could have taken, since nothing is allowed to be sacred. Take Lilo and Stitch. This is a cute movie about family and finding your place in the world, but we already have that movie. Instead of doing it again, what if, with the remake, you start where the animated movie started? Jumba's on trial, Stitch insults the United Galactic Federation, he's going to be exiled to an asteroid, he escapes, makes the hyper jump, and nope, he does not crash on Earth. Instead, he crashes on a different world. For argument's sake, let's say Barsoom. Hey, Disney owns John Carter, so it's not impossible even if, well, yeah, they would never do this. Shut up, let me have this. Since Barsoom isn't a haven for the allegedly endangered mosquito population, the United Galactic Federation would have no problem moving in force against this world to contain this threat. Barsoom is a lot more peaceful and united now than they were a century ago. When I say united, I mean the green men and the red men. The yellow, white, and black Barsoomians are still insular enough to not join forces with the larger populations that greeted John Carter when he first arrived so long ago. While the United Peoples of Mars have peace and prosperity and some technological advancements, they're still not advanced enough to be part of the United Galactic Federation. But they're no pushovers, and when a horde of invaders throw their weight around, they fight back. Most of the warriors fighting Gantu and his army don't know Experiment 626 is on Barsoom, as his ship crashed in one of the polar regions, where he encounters the Yellow Men of Barsoom. Maybe it's a science experiment created by the Red Men to fight those who won't bow down to their might. 626 acquits himself as a warrior, and much like John Carter when he was captured by the Green Men, 626 becomes an ally to the Yellow Men. One language he understands is violence, and when it becomes clear these men plan to rise up against the equatorial Barsoomians, 626 wants in on that. Though the Yellow Martians intended a brutal massacre against the Red and Green Men, ironically, they become the cavalry when they come in and see a massive war against something else. 626 becomes a hero to all involved parties except Gantu and his forces, as he pulls off all kinds of crazy strategic maneuvers to save the Barsoomians from the Federation's soldiers. Gantu calls for a retreat and says, look, maybe with a bigger army we could take it, but 626 has already amassed an army of his own, and we would lose a lot of good soldiers trying to recapture that thing. The Grand Councilwoman wouldn't like saying, it'll be fine, but she doesn't want to lose more soldiers than she already has. She decrees Barsoom to be quarantined. Nobody in the Federation is allowed to go there. And while 626 doesn't find the cuddly, happy environment he found in the Lilo and Stitch movie, he does find a purpose, as he is exalted and honored as the hero who saved Barsoom from invaders, and found a common cause between the Yellow Men and the Red and the Green. And even though he earned a name for himself in a time of war, the leaders of the United Peoples want to send him as an emissary to the White and Black Barsoomians, who have still remained at each other's throats for the last century. The Barsoomians don't know that the Federation will leave them alone, and they like the idea of having more allies in case a bigger army comes back. 626 knows that the army was here for him, but he doesn't have to let his new friends know that. So even with a drastic change in the timeline, 626 still finds his Ohana and becomes more than what he was programmed to be. And if you hate this idea, it doesn't have to be Barsoom. It could basically be Planet Hulk. 626 starts as a slave gladiator and rises in the ranks just in time for the Federation to find him and make their attack. I plan to cover a few different what-if scenarios for some of the other Disney properties, but this got bigger than I intended, so I won't do that. What do you guys think? Would this be better than Disney's current strategy of an endless barrage of nearly identical remakes of their entire catalog? Let me know, and in the meantime, I'll see you with something else in the future. Until then, have a good one.